Rich, I'm reading this book. Been the last couple books I've read is a book called Range and a book called Bounce, and then and the premise is like what that there's really people with a broad range of skills. It's better to have a broad range of skills than be a specialist.
Hmm.
And I remember hearing you say, early on that that you, as much as you love CrossFit, that you think kids should be playing a lot of different sports and a lot of different activities.
Yep.
And then I was reading this. I'm reading this book, Bounce, and it's talking about what to say to kids, basically what you can say to ruin them and what you can say to make them achieve. And then I
Yep.
keep seeing confirmation of it. One of the confirmations I saw the other day was I saw Khabib. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Nurmagomedov.
UFC guy,
Yeah.
champion.
And he was saying that after his fights, he would win a fight, and then he would call his dad back in Russia, and his dad would tell him he wouldn't. His dad would never say, "Hey, congratulations." His dad would just tell him all the things he's done wrong. And and in this book Bounce, they were saying that like, hey, you shouldn't tell a kid that they're smart, because when you tell a kid that they're smart and they start to believe it, what it does is it builds a fear of failure in them, because then they don't want to try anything that would expose the fact that they're not smart, because they're living up to this, their parents trying to say they're smart. And so if
Hmm.
I understood the book correctly, basically the thing to tell your kid is man, you're a hard worker, man, you're a hard worker, because in the end, hard work is what pays off. Just grind.
Yep. Yep.
And to tie this back, and I would like to get your input on it, but to tie it back, when I first came out to visit you, your dad, jokingly in jest, but I'm sure there's some truth to it, said, hey, the only reason why Rich Froning Jr. is so fit is because of his chores. I put this kid to work.
Yep.
Um, does any of that resonate with you? How did your dad encourage you to like not be afraid of failure? How did your mom encourage you to not be afraid of failure? And were you always just a grinder?
Honestly, I think for my with my parents, um, there's
Like, who
not
were you
like I
trying
don't.
to impress?
I think them. I think there's a lot of things I think that go into just why it's almost like a perfect storm of a bunch of things. I grew up. We did like chores. I used to get so um, like mad when my friends would come over because my parents, I just felt like they were like, ooh, more hands for chores. When I would go up to Michigan, my aunts, it was like, hey, we had chores to do. There was all these types. There was a ton of us cousins. So, but my parents, I guess, I say that to say they didn't just, hey, go do this, fix this, whatever. They were either out there with us or doing something else working. So they led by example. There was never like, I didn't feel like they were telling us just to make us do something. It was like something needed to get done and they were going to go do their, you know, whatever they had to get done. And so I always say that they're the two hardest working people in any room that I've ever been in. And so for me, the leadership style that I've always had is not a ton of words. I'm not, gonna do a rah pep speech or anything like that. I really hate. I'm not a huge fan of slogans or like motivational speeches or motivate. I like motivational talk, that type of stuff. It's more of a lead by example, and so um, there was that. There was the as a kid, I'm one of, on my mom's side alone, there's 32 of us first cousins, 25 of us are boys. The 7 girls are just as good of athletes as the 25 boys. And so every family get together, it was, hey, let's see who can run around the pond the fastest. Let's see who can swim across the fastest, who can ride their bike the fastest. And so as a kid, I thought that was, hey, they want us to see who the most dominant cousin is. And now I realize they were just trying to make us tired. Now that I have kids, I'm like, oh, I get it now. But at the time, it was, hey, it was this competition that was, fight to the death for the greatest cousin. And so I don't know, all of those type of things, I guess, kind of blended into why I am the way that I am, and how I either parent or how I compete or anything like that. And so, I know that there's some holes in a lot of that stuff, but it all kind of worked out in the end, I think.
So culturally, it sounds like my upbringing too. My parents were always the first one awake.
Hmm.
I can't ever remember seeing my mom or dad ever sleep in,
Right.
and they were the last one up at night. And
Mm-hmm.
they were and they didn't and when they went to bed, they weren't watching TV. They were like working, cleaning the kitchen. My mom was an attorney. She'd have her shit set out on the table. My dad would be like at the store late. So, and you're right. That's interesting. And my parents, and I said, who are you trying to impress? But maybe the other side of the coin is who are you trying not to let down?
Let
Right?
down. Yep.
It's
Yep.
kind of like the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah, and that other thing that they said about people telling you that you're smart, that really resonated with me too, because as a child, I remember like people were always telling me, "You're so smart, you're so smart, you're so smart," and then I never wanted to do anything that would expose the fact
Right.
that
Yeah.
that I wasn't smart. But hard work was always like grinding and like, "Hey, dig that hole." Well, you can't fuck that up. So I was like, yeah, I can do that. Or like we would go to a banquet or something. Someone would be like, set the table, and you're like, yeah, I'll fold more napkins than any other kid here, and I'll fold them better.
Right.
But you probably weren't. So when you said chores, you probably had different chores than me. Like I was told, like get the vacuum cleaner and dust the corners, and that would take
Oh
like
man, we had that. I did that type of stuff. We had, house, depending on time of the year, but there were house chores. There were like, we had to weed flower beds. We had to, my mom used to, which is crazy. She would, around trees in the yard, she would want us to edge and pull all the
yes,
weeds away from the tree. And I'm like,
yes.
what the hell? What? We had to we had these kind of apple trees on the property. We'd have to pick up sour apples so they wouldn't, get bees all over the place. And I don't know, like it was just at the time, I'm like, what? Why are we doing this stupid stuff? But now I look back and I'm like, all right, I appreciate that hey, you can go do the lowliest job there is because somebody's got to do it. And like I said, my parents, and they were never above doing any of that stuff. They just, if they had more hands to help, they were going to have more hands to help.
Did your mom have an edger, like a
We used a
stick with that?
shovel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking about. Stick with the wheel. Yeah, no, we just used a shovel, and you just kind of like, you wouldn't really dig it. You just kind of pop it up, and then you'd pull the weeds and tamp out the dirt, and then chuck the dirt, and you'd come by with a wheelbarrow and pick it up. My aunt, she, if the grass got too long when she would mow, they had 5-6 acres, and she had 6 boys. She would mow, and it was before they had like baggers for the extra grass clippings, and so we'd have to walk around with a wagon, scrape up some grass, throw it in the wagon, pitch it in the weeds, and for 2.5 hours we would do that. That was the worst. And then if you got in trouble, they had a big pond, and in Michigan you have swimming ponds, and they'd have decorative rocks around it. If you got in trouble, you'd pick weeds for 45 minutes or whatever it was. So
Like out of the decorative rocks.
I hate weeding. That's the one thing on this planet I absolutely despise.
Yeah, I was scarred from that as a kid too. And whoever invented that wheel should have their ass beat,
Yep, exactly.
because that's horrible. What do you do? What do you do? Do you have any stuff like that you do, domestic stuff that you do that would surprise us? Like every morning I wake up, I take the dog out at 6 a.m. and I walk around my backyard barefoot with like 5 poop bags. Just like I'm like
Cleaning up poop.
obsessed with like there not being any poop that my kids step in. Or
Yeah.
like I love doing the wash. I don't like folding the clothes, but I love
Yeah.
putting the clothes in the wash and putting the soap in and making sure like it gets an extra rinse and all that. Do you do any of that stuff?
Oh man, I do all of it really. I don't really clean up poop. Our dogs are pretty good about going outside the yard. But
When's the last time you stepped in poop?
last time I stepped in poop or
Yeah.
stepped in poop.
That-
Last time I've stepped in poop, it's been a while.
oh,
I
good.
feel like
Okay.
the kids randomly step in poop, but it's been a long time actually. Honestly, I don't know if their feet, because the rubber around the barn out here is so dirty, I guess just from outside weather and stuff. That Trice yesterday looked like he came out of a coal mine. His shins were black, his stomach's black because he didn't have a shirt on. He had like black on his face, all this everywhere. So yeah, there could have been some shit in there, who knows. But yeah, no, I mean, I vacuum. There's never any, like, we don't have any, I guess, gender assigned chores. Like if something needs to be vacuumed, I'll vacuum. If Hillary wants to vacuum, she'll vacuum.